Hello teachers, this video is to hopefully help you get a better understanding of the two options that we have to choose from. And so this slide shows you the current teacher schedule, our current system, and then the proposed schedule. So I won't go over the current teacher schedule much because that's what we're doing right now. We're all very familiar with that. We do have some pros and cons listed below. We like that it's one class, one set of students, 34 students, and so that is one of the pros. And the cons are listed there. Just as a reminder, the reason why we're considering a different model is because we have over half of our student population is not doing well in this model so far. We have 277 D's and F's, and so we've also had many complaints from parents and students and teachers that it is too fast paced, that students cannot keep up with the expectations of assignments that they have to do per day. They don't, they can't do the homework, and it's just too much, too many hours, too much work, and they're going too fast that they're not retaining the information and truly learning the content. So the proposed schedule is that we continue with our 34 students, but we extend class. Instead of the mini block being 14 days, the mini block would now be 21 days. So instead of having midterms this Thursday and Friday, we would have midterms next week, Tuesday, possibly Wednesday. This would allow for us to have a makeup day to help students catch up and do work that they have been missing. And the idea is that we would have two mini blocks instead of three. So one class would go for 21 days and the other class would go for another 21 days. Um, and so with that, in order for students to get their full credits, 1.5 credits, they would need a third class. And so that is why we have the PLP self-paced class. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So with your students, if we extend the days, that means we can decrease the amount of hours that they are working on your class daily. So your Google Meets, instead of being 2.5 hours, your Google Meets can be 1.5 hours. So your first period students would be with you from 8 to 9:30, and then you would have a half hour time to transition to your next class, to wrap up that first period and get ready for second period. Second period would be from 10 to 11:30, so that's another hour and a half. And then students would do homework for what we estimate to be an hour and a half. So what that would look like is students could finish what was being done in class and then do one solid homework assignment for that day. And so that would be more manageable for students. And lunch for teachers would be from 11:30 to 12. And then teachers would essentially have that rest of the time for tutoring, and for grading and planning. So tutoring for PLP would be from 12 to 1. And that would be 1 hour dedicated to the tutoring for the PLP self-paced students, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then your students for your class, you would tutor them from 1 to 2 o'clock. And this would be only on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So on Mondays and Fridays, teachers would be done at 11:30, and you would have that time protected from 11:30 to 3:30 for your planning, for your grading, for your phone calls. You could get organized and communicate with students and parents about who needs to come to that mandatory tutoring on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So this schedule allows more time protected for the teacher. So the pros with this is that students feel less pressure to have to complete a large amount of work in one day. They're with you for an hour and a half and they're working at home for about an hour and a half for homework. They are responsible for finishing the classwork and completing one homework assignment. Um, Now, this PLP class, they will also be taking a PLP class, but it extends past the mini block. It goes until the October break. So typically it would be a 10-week class, but because we're starting this not until Monday, These students would be taking the self-paced PLP class for 34 days. And what's good about this is that it decreases the stress of having like daily assignments due. Instead, the students would get like a weekly to-do list, and their due date would be like Sunday midnight. So they would have to complete a certain amount of assignments by Sunday, and it's flexible. Students can work on it whenever they want. They can wait until the weekend if they want. What you would be checking on Monday is if they are on track with their progress and if they are where they're supposed to be. If they are, then there's no need for you to meet with them for tutoring or anything of that sort. They can just continue on with the class. On Monday, you would only be contacting the students who are behind, who would then need to go to your 1 hour of mandatory tutoring on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 12 to 1. During that time, you can do 2-for-1 lessons and you can help the students catch up. They would all be in more or less the same place because we're going by weeks. So students would be doing similar assignments. They wouldn't be all over the place with the curriculum. Also, the curriculum that you would be using for the PLP self-paced class is the same curriculum that you have been creating for your class right now. So it would not be a regular PLP course like we were doing in Block 4. It would have all the enhancements and the videos and everything you've been planning so far. It would be offered in that self-paced PLP class. So please take a look at the pros and cons, give this some thought. Yes, if you go with the proposed schedule, you would have 68 students. That number would increase. But again, you would have extra time to manage those students and make phone calls and plan for them during those tutoring times on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I hope this has given you some clarity and that you now have the information you need to make the best decision for you and your students.